The 1950s animated film Cinderella has nothing to do with love. However, it mainly reflects the mind of an abused child. After the death of her father, Cinderella was now at the mercy of her stepmother. Without the defense of her father,
Cinderella was abused, humiliated, and finally forced to become a servant in her own house.
But through it all, she always wore a smile. The one thing I got from Cinderella that really moved me was her patience, her kindness, even to the people who wished death upon her. Abused children tend to turn out in different ways, from being bullies who torture other children, to introverted children who are always controlled by fear. Or they end up becoming people pleasers who try to win the love and affection of their abusers or anyone outside their home in order to boost their shattered self-esteem. Cinderella, on the other hand, had none of the above. She treated everyone with respect and love, from the little mice who made her days bearable to their stepmother's evil cat Lucifer. However, this is not uncommon, as some children tend to do the opposite of their abusive caregivers because they don't want to make people feel what they've felt throughout their lives, and they end up giving people the kindness and love they never got. Allow me to tell you a story. Once, there was a little 10-year-old girl who lived with her stepsister, her father, and her stepmother. For context, her biological mother was still alive, but she was not in the picture at this point in her life. Every time her stepmom would make it clear that her daughter was better than this little girl, whether it was through her academic performance or whether it was through buying her biological daughter gifts, and this little girl would rarely get anything. Her life was very difficult, as her stepmother would be kind to her when her dad was around, but in his absence, she would turn on this little girl. On one occasion, she was left home alone because her stepmom did not want this little girl to accompany them while they went shopping with her daughter and the maid. So she was left home unsupervised, and the only thing she had to eat was a spoiled meal from a while ago. When they came back, the girl asked her stepsister if anyone was cooking, and the stepsister replied they had bought food and eaten it where they were. The little girl then went to the maid and asked if she'll prepare something for lunch, to which the maid replied, no one is cooking, and if she was hungry, she could eat the food I previously mentioned. So hungry and sad, the girl took the food, put it in the microwave, warmed it up, and after one bite, she almost puked. So she threw the food away and went out to play to forget what had just happened. She never threw a tantrum, she never complained, she was never rude, she took her suffering with grace and with the innocence of a child. Cinderella was the exact same way. She continuously took her stepmother's abuse, and she never folded. She always wore a smile, and she was always kind to all the people around her. The patience she had while in her situation was very inspiring, and how she took every day one step at a time always had me thinking. While in the midst of our trials, we tend to be overwhelmed by our circumstances. But what I learned from Cinderella is we just need to take each day as it comes and let tomorrow handle itself, and look for a silver lining in all our dire situations. A lot of people thought Cinderella wanted to go to the ball to meet the prince, but she just wanted to get out of the house and take a break from her dire situation. Something I noticed about abused children is that they tend to avoid home at all costs. They tend to engage in after-school activities a lot, hang around friends' houses more, because they'd rather be anywhere else but their home. This is because they don't feel safe in their own home, and going back there for some is like walking into a war zone. When Cinderella presented herself before leaving for the ball with the clothes the animals made for her, due to jealousy, her stepsisters tore it to shreds, and they also accused Cinderella of stealing. But technically, the animals stole these items for her so she can get a chance to go and have fun at the ball. However, her stepfamily never wanted that, so they tore her clothes and left her at the house, sad, hopeless, and humiliated. Sometimes stepchildren are treated with jealousy because they feel like the stepchild is not deserving of good things, maybe because they're outsiders, so they don't have that biological bond to treat the child fairly. A common word used is, he or she is not mine, so he or she is not my responsibility, or I never wanted you here, and I'm just doing this for your mom or dad, depending on who the biological parent is. Cinderella cries her heart out, tired of the abuse, tired of the constant humiliation. She had no one to defend her, she had no one to turn to, and if her parents were just alive, she wouldn't be going through all this suffering, to where she said,
I can't believe, not anymore.
She had lost hope. When an abused child loses the hope for a better tomorrow, the worst tends to happen. If they believe the words of their abusers, their identity is stolen, and so some end up taking their own lives. They tend to engage in drugs and alcohol, or even self-harm. In their minds, they believe they're worthless, they don't deserve to be happy, and they were born to suffer, which is not true. Cinderella had her fairy godmother, but for us people in the real world, I would say from a Christian perspective, we have God. The fairy godmother took Cinderella to the ball, something that Cinderella thought was impossible. To me, the ball is a metaphor for a better tomorrow. The good book says in Isaiah 40:31, "But for those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not faint." To whoever is watching this video and is an abused child or is in an abusive home, just know you're not alone. Thousands of other kids are going through the same thing you're going through. And if there's hope for them, well, there's hope for you too. So keep hope alive. Hang in there. Nothing lasts forever. And God has got your back. Every tear you cried, baby, will be paid in full. In Jeremiah 29:11, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. A beautiful future." Maybe ours might not be as fairy tale as this story, but just like Sam Cooke said, a change is going to come. Be there for them and always make them feel safe and loved. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like,